Hey YouTube, it's Matt with Littlest Reptiles, and we're going to continue that little series introducing you to our snakes. And number 2 on the list is this guy right here. I didn't mean to keep him. This is an accident, but it's been a very, very happy accident. So this is Apollo. Apollo, well, he's the second ball python I ever owned. And you're kind of thinking, no, dude, it's pretty cool. You're going to go in just straight in order. Nope, I'm going to start that way, but it's going to get all effed up because a lot of these came at the same time and stuff we kept and all that. But for the first few, I thought it was important to kind of go from the origin story, right? So Apollo is obviously a bumblebee, and he's almost as old as Apollo, or as Erebus. Not quite. This snake is probably also 10 years plus, probably just a year younger than Erebus. When I bought him, he was, you can't do that to my hand. He was about 650 grams, so he just hit breed size. The story was the guy I bought him from was literally the same dude I bought Erebus from, okay? So what had happened was he had this snake too, and he really wanted to sell both of them. You're not going to breed my hand, okay? You can try all you want, but there's no spot there, buddy. He really wanted to sell both of them at the same time. Let me set you on this table. That way you can just kind of do your thing. There you are. So he wanted to get rid of both, and he offered me a great deal to take both. But I was running glass cages and all this, and I had a spot set up for the other one. I didn't really have a spot for this one, but the deal was such that it's hard to refuse. So I went to a local shop and talked to those guys, and they wanted them. I remember at the time these were a little more valuable than they are today. And so they were going to buy them. So I had this snake sold before I ever bought it. And it was covering most of the cost of my other one. So I was feeling pretty smart. And this we kind of call like flipping ahead of time. I didn't even know what flipping was, nor I know it was a bad thing. Again, this was pretty all new to me. And so I went to get this guy in Erebus. When I got him both, his color again, he's over 10 years old. He has browned out quite a bit. However, he throws great babies that hold their color. Keep him up there for a second here. I'll prove it. Maybe. Let's see how she looks. She was in shed last time I checked. Yeah, she's in shed now, so she's not a very good example. So I don't really have an example of another straight bumblebee he's thrown that's not this dark right now because his offspring is that dark in shed. But you just have to take my word for it. He throws really good bumblebees. Anyway, I loved him, right? I couldn't take my eyes off of him. I thought, man, he was cool. Truth be told, I thought he looked better than the thing I came there to get, which was my Xanthic. I was just blown away by how cool this snake was. All the spider concerns weren't even known at the time, or talked about. You can see he does wonderful, so, really, really good, actually. Not that it's not there, he doesn't have a problem with it whatsoever. You can actually see it right there if you know exactly what you're looking for. And it's just because there'll be a little bit of a head tilt sometimes when he's crawling. But anyway, picked him up, and I'm taking him to the shop to sell him. And I'm kind of sad, really, because I don't really want to do it. I'm like, man, this sucks. I wish I could keep this snake, but no, I got to sell him because that's how the finances all work out and everything else. So I go there, and guess what happened? The shop was closed because they would close shop to go to a show in Kansas City, which I bought this in a parking lot in Kansas City. So had I known, I could have just, but I didn't. I didn't even know what was going on. So basically, I went to Kansas City and they were closed because they were in Kansas City. So at that point in time, I'm going to have to keep this guy. And I'd read that we definitely were not going to cohabitate them. So I ended up having to go to the old Petco, buying a glass cage and a heat mat and all the stuff I needed to set him up somewhat properly. And I say somewhat because, again, it was early on in my career. And at that point in time, I'm like, well, hell, now you've invested this much money in getting a cage for him. Might as well just keep him. So then I could justify keeping him, and I did. And the funny fact of that whole thing is I told you I never bred Erebus, right? Well, this guy was the father to the first clutch I ever produced right here. So I did breed him. I still use him for breeding to this day. And even though, his genetics being just pastel and spider aren't going to be going to blow anybody away, where he excels and why he's still part of the breeding program is because he does tend to throw the exact kind of spiders I like, which is very, very low noise and really nice, bright colored animals, even though he's a little on the dark side with age. But number 2 is he'll breed a garden hose. He's a very, very prolific breeder. So if I got a female that struggled to go for a few years, and I want to know, is the problem the male or is the problem her, or what's going on, or is she just a shy breeder? I put this guy to her, and then he gets the job done if there's a job to be done. I have the utmost faith in him as a breeder male to kick one past the goalie and not take no for an answer. I mean, yeah, he's great. So like this year, for a great example, I've got him going to an Orange Dream Pastel who's been at size, been locked, and yet I've never had her throw eggs for me. So this is like, well, is it the pairing we've chosen the last couple of years or what's going on? This will be the one who'll tell me, because I'm going to put him there. I know if he doesn't get the job done, then there's probably an issue with that particular female. So that's him. This is Apollo, the second snake I bought with the intent to be my first snake to sell, but instead he was my first snake to produce babies with. I gotta tell you guys, I love this dude, man. And I know it's just in today's age, a bumblebee's like, who's the bumblebee? I get that, and it's not, we'll get to the crazy stuff, but I don't care. Like, this is one of the reasons why I always produce snakes like this, because I know what these kind of snakes meant to my career. I know what they did for me. And I know if they can do that for me, they're going to do that for others too. So you'll never get me away from producing at all those tiers, because that's how you bring people in. It's how my career starts, how a lot of careers start. And I'm always going to do that. Question or only questions?
No, but why breed a boring Bob when you can have an amazing Apollo?
Who's boring Bob in this case?
The other breeder male, so you're trying to breed to the Orange Dream, and she's saying, no thanks.
Oh, she's had some pretty good males in there, I think. I don't remember what I put to her last. I have to look at the records. But, we call her the big liar because she looks like she's going to have eggs every year. And then she never does. She never does. Like, that's the girl that gets you slapped around in the convenience store because you go like, oh, when you do, she's like, I ain't pregnant. That is my Orange Dream Pastel. Every freaking year. So hopefully this guy here gets one done. Any other questions?
No.
All right, guys, we're going to put up Apollo and go over to Patreon and talk about a little bit of the emotional state. Although it's kind of the same with Erebus, but I'll make it different. We'll catch y'all next time.